What's up guys, I'm ArieRashelle and this is Nuggets of Truth. I grew up believing that Joseph died hundreds of years before the enslavement of the Hebrews in Egypt, but when I started reading and studying the Bible for myself, I came across something kind of interesting. So let's just dive right into this. Exodus chapter 12 verses 40 through 42 says, "The time that the people of Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of 430 years, on that very day, all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. It was a night of watching by the Lord to bring them out of the land of Egypt. So this same night is a night of watching kept to the Lord by all the people of Israel throughout their generations." Now, I know this is a very common verse. Everyone knows this verse. I know. Trust me. I know. But just give me a minute. Just stick with me.
Go on.
Joseph entered Egypt as a slave when he was 17, Genesis 37. Then became second in command to Pharaoh at 30, Genesis 41, verse 46. Now just stick with me. I'm going somewhere with this. Trust me, I'm going somewhere. His father came to live in the land of Egypt after 9 years since he was promoted. We know this because Joseph tells his brothers to come live in the land when there were 5 years left of the famine in the land, Genesis 45 verses 10 through 11. Now Jacob, Joseph's father, was 130 when he entered Egypt, Genesis 47 verse 9. He lived 17 years in the land and died at 147, Genesis 47 verse 28. Now keep in mind that the Israelites lived in the land of Egypt for 430 years total. Now according to the Lord himself, they spent 400 of those years in slavery, Genesis 15, 12 through 16. As the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell on Abram. And behold, dreadful and great darkness fell upon him. Then the Lord said to Abram, "Know for certain that your offspring will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and will be servants there, and they will be afflicted for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation that they serve, and afterward they shall come out with great possessions. As for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age, and they shall come back here in the 4th generation, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete." Keep in mind, Joseph dies at 110 years old. Now, I know that there are people who don't believe the biblical ages are literal, but only symbolic. However, I am not one of those people. I don't believe that. I don't believe that the authors of the Bible changed the years and generations of the patriarchs in order to push a narrative. That means that since all scripture is God-breathed, 2 Timothy 3:16 through 17, that to me would have to mean that God would then be deceitful in order to push a narrative that he wanted.
That's possibly true.
So with that said, when Joseph died at 110 years old, he actually says something really weird to his brothers before he dies. Check this out, Genesis chapter 50 verses 22 through 26. "So Joseph remained in Egypt, he and his father's house. Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the 3rd generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were counted as Joseph's own. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will visit you and bring you up out of this land to the land that he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died, being 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt." Why would Joseph say, I'm about to die, but God will visit you and bring you up out of this land, to the land that he swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? And then he repeats it, God will surely visit you. And then he makes some promise to bring his bones with them. That's such a weird statement to make. If life is going good for them, right? They're dwelling in the land, they're prospering, they're having a great time. Why would the Lord need to come, visit them, and bring them up out of the land? Why would they need to carry Joseph's bones instead of just going to bury him like they did their father in Genesis chapter 50 verses 1 through 14? None of that makes sense if they're just having a good old time in the land of Egypt.
That makes sense to me.
Joseph entered Egypt a slave and died a slave. I'm gonna let that sink in for just a second.
So anyways,
See, Jacob lived 17 years in the land of Egypt. That means there was 13 years left of good times in the land of Egypt before the start of 400 years of oppression. So Jacob entered the land when Joseph was 39, died when Joseph was 56, and therefore the people of Israel became oppressed in the land of Egypt when Joseph was 69 years old. So Joseph spent another 41 years oppressed in the land of Egypt before he died at 110.
I was not expecting that.
Now when we get to the book of Exodus, we are introduced to the new Pharaoh who begins oppressing the people of Israel. Exodus chapter 1 verse 1 through 14. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob, each with his household: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. All the descendants of Jacob were 70 persons. Joseph was already in Egypt. Then Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. But the people of Israel were fruitful and increased greatly. They multiplied and grew exceedingly strong, so that the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "Behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land." Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with heavy burdens. They built for Pharaoh store cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread abroad. And the Egyptians were in dread of the people of Israel. So they ruthlessly made the people of Israel work as slaves, and made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and brick, and in all kinds of work in the field. In all their work, they ruthlessly made them work as slaves. Because the book of Exodus states that all of Joseph's generation died, we take that to mean that they all died before the oppression. But I'm not so convinced. Keep this in mind, the very next chapter says that Moses is born. Does that mean that he was born during the reign of the first Pharaoh who oppressed them? Or that he was born right after the beginning of oppression?
Good question.
No, there had to be 400 years of oppression before Moses led the people out of Israel at 80 years old. Exodus chapter 7, verses 6 through 7, and Deuteronomy 34, verse 7.
Fair enough.
Now, what about the fact that the new Pharaoh didn't know Joseph? Doesn't that kind of disprove everything I've just said?
Yep. Wrong-o.
That's the Hebrew word on the screen, which could be translated as did not have concern for, as it is translated in Genesis 39, 6 through 8, twice in those verses. So it could be translated as, now there arose a new king over Egypt, who did not have concern for Joseph.
What?
This doesn't mean that Joseph had been dead long before the new Pharaoh came to power. It means that the new Pharaoh didn't care or have concern for who Joseph was or what he had done. In fact, his comments to the people sound like he knew who Joseph and his family were, but didn't think they were of importance to him or the land. Like he didn't care for them, but saw them as a threat. Now think about this. I thought this was further evidence that my dad showed me, right? He pointed out that Jacob was mourned by the Egyptians as well. He was beloved by the people of the land. So now that they have multiplied greatly, even more so than when they first entered the land, Pharaoh saw them as a liability or threat instead of allies.
Wow.
Joseph was second in command to the previous Pharaoh. His family was loved by the Egyptian people. The new Pharaoh probably felt threatened by the influence and the growth of the people in the land, so he spread a propaganda campaign against them in order to remove them from the influence they had. That makes verse 12 of Exodus chapter 1 make more sense. Because it says, and the Egyptians were in dread of the people of Israel. Why would they be in dread of them? They had never fought against them. They had never done anything against the people of Egypt. Why would they be in dread of them? Propaganda. This Pharaoh sounded a lot like Hitler, but I digress. So while you guys ponder all of these things, let's just sum everything up real quick. Joseph entered the land of Egypt as a slave at 17 years old. He became second in command to Pharaoh at 30 years old, and 9 years later, his father, brothers, and their families came to live in the land of Goshen. His father, Jacob, lived in the land of Goshen for 17 years, then died at 147 years while Joseph was 56 years old. The people of Israel lived a total of 430 years in the land of Egypt. 400 of those years were in slavery, oppressed by the Egyptians. So 30 years of those 430 years were good years. That means slavery and oppression started when Joseph was 69 years old. Therefore, if Joseph died at 110 years old, slavery and oppression were going on for 41 years before he died. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to further grow your relationship with God and have a daily devotional sent directly to your phone or email, subscribe to our website, holdtohope.org, or join our Telegram channel, Hold to Hope, where you will also receive an encouraging verse, quote, and lyric of the day. If there's ever a video of ours taken down on YouTube that you want to see, it'll always be available on our website, Telegram channel, and Rumble. So do with that information as you see fit, and until next time, God bless.